Welcome to Health Hacks.
Erin, it's so nice to have you on my podcast today. We have to do this one remotely, but it's an honor to have you here. You are such an inspiring person. You have helped so many people. Maybe you want to introduce yourself real quick. What is it that you're doing?
My original background was in first bodybuilding and then broke myself in bodybuilding. And I'd been professionally training people since very young age. I actually started training when I was 16. And that transitioned into a lot of injuries within myself. And then I moved to Hawaii, went to massage school, started putting my pieces back together for myself. And then went to Colorado, went to a thing called the Rolf Institute. It's another form of bodywork. And there's been a blend of athletic training and bodywork, manual therapy for been about 21 years now. And started a podcast about 11 years ago called the Align Podcast. And that's been a really beautiful experience to be able to integrate various different minds and perspectives into my approach with clients. And did a book called The Align Method, which was an approach on how to integrate more effective movement into your life. So going outside of training be a thing that you do in the gym, but make training be a part of your everyday life. So the way that you're sitting, the way that you're communicating, the way that you use your senses, the way that you use your breath. And now I've been obsessing over breath for the last couple of years. And I think that's where we were introduced. I was leading some workshops around breathing and the way that breath regulates your nervous system in a very efficient way. And so I teach people how to use their breath as a tool to regulate their nervous system.
Okay, I just have to jump in here real quick. Can you tell me your stress ball? Like, what does it do? The stress ball?
Oh, a stress ball? Oh, it's not actually a stress ball. It's just a random ball. I don't even know what this is. It's like a mini lacrosse ball. I just have it sitting on my desk. I use it for like massage and stuff. It just feels good.
I'm actually a little jealous. I want that too. I want that in my hands.
Oh, it's
best.
Nice.
Good. It looks fun.
Yeah,
you said already how we met. I was actually attending one of your breathwork classes, and I absolutely loved what I took out of this class into my daily life from there, because breathing is just something that we do, but we don't really think about it, right? And so that's actually what I want to ask you. How does breathing influence our daily life? How could wrong breathing influence us, and how could right breathing benefit us?
I mean, so breath affects practically every system in the entire body. The main one that would be relevant for people, I think, is their mental emotional state. So if a person's feeling anxious or stressed out, or is having trouble with sleeping, or is feeling irritable, reactive in relationship with their partner, have you been in, whether you're in a relationship now or been in the past, have you been in a reactive state with your partner at some point where you almost feel like your blood pressure rising and your heart rate is raising up, and you kind of get in a place where it's not productive conversation anymore? Have you had that experience?
I think definitely everybody has experienced that. But it could be in the good and in the negative, right? Or would you say that's always negative?
Well, the nervous system can be in a place, so this gets into something called polyvagal theory, which there's the founder of that, this guy called Stephen Porges. I actually recently recorded a podcast with him. And within that, he goes through a ladder of nervous system function or tone. And a person could be in a engaged, playful state, which would be kind of like a blend of like the sympathetic and parasympathetic. It's kind of like harmoniously integrated. Whereas a person might be in just an excessively sympathetic, stressed out, reactive, out of control place where they have total loss of their prefrontal cortex, the part of their brain that allows them to be rational and make decisions in an effective way. They just essentially become like an animal, So you're old, probably a lot of it's governed by trauma and things of the sort. Brain will start to come online depending upon the situation. If a person kind of starts to lose their marbles a little bit and go into a reactive state, and what they'll feel physiologically with that is they'll literally feel their pupils will dilate, their blood pressure will go up, blood will shunt away from the organs into the appendages, into the muscles, in order to either fight or flight, either engage with the enemy or run out of the room. So physiologically, we are animals, and our systems have been running on the same stress hormones and things of the like for, millions of years.
Mm-hmm.
And so your experience when you get pissed off at your whatever neighbor or something, neighbors walking by, so dang neighbors, my blood pressure's raising.
Is that an example out of the moment?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that moment where I'm like, these neighbors are being so loud with their darn kids. I moved to Miami Beach recently, so it's like I live in South Beach.
Yeah.
So there's people around here. But those systems in the body, they're millions of years old. Like they're no different. The way that you release norepinephrine or adrenaline or cortisol or any of that, as you go through the cascade of stress chemicals, is the same system that you've been working with for millions of years. And so now we have new definitions of what's happening. I'm stressed about my neighbors. I'm stressed about, my rent. I'm stressed about my girlfriend, my boyfriend. I'm stressed about my cell phone, my emails. But the systems are very old, and they are tied into your physiology. And so what becomes interesting is you can change your physiology, change your physical body, change the way that you breathe, for an example, and that will tie into the way that you produce yourself at a hormonal level and at a chemical level. And so if you are feeling stressed out with your partner, you're in a fight, you'll feel your breath will probably start to get shallow. It will become easier to inhale. It'll be harder to exhale. You will notice your heart rate will raise, and you will notice that you start seeing like red. Yeah. And in that state, the best thing you can possibly do with your partner is say, oh my gosh, I'm feeling like it's time, like it's like red light time. We need to stop, and what we need to do is we need to pause for a second. And until a nice rule that I think is pleasant is until one of the partners is at least at like a 6 with their nervous system, we can't go forward past this point. The most important thing is we need to get you above a 6 or me. Okay, but
how could you tell what's a 6?
A 6 would be just like your internal felt state of like, okay, this is manageable. Okay. It's good. Like I'm feeling a little bit edgy, but like I'm not overwhelmed at all. Once we get into like 7, 8 territory, I'm like, there's a lot to hold, and I think I hate you, and I think it's time to break up, but like I don't actually need that. So in that like 5, 6 territory, you're in a place where you're like, okay, like I can feel we're in something, but like I'm okay, and I have compassion and ease and love for you in this moment, and we can proceed forward. The fastest way to bring yourself and your partner back into a place of ease, back into a 5 territory, is emphasize long exhalations, because you are mechanically going in and you're slowing down your heart rate. So you were hyped up. Now you're going to emphasize long exhalation. And even just doing that now, like slowing down the pace of communication, emphasizing longer exhalations in the way you communicate, will calm the conversation down. It'll calm yourself down. And it literally begins to slow the rate of the heart. I can explain why that happens. The term for it is called sinus respiratory arrhythmia. I don't know if it's relevant for you to like understand the specifics.
No, absolutely. There. I think it's interesting to hear that, and somebody doesn't want to hear, they skip the part.
You skip the part. Yeah. So if you're into kind of like sciencey nerdy stuff, so when you inhale, your diaphragm descends. It drops down. Your lungs don't actively breathe. Your lungs are just these bags filled with millions of these little sacs called alveoli. If you were to spread those alveoli out, they would actually be spread out about the distance, the surface area of a tennis court. So you have probably trillions of alveoli wrapped around these lungs, at least billions. And when you are inhaling, you are pulling the musculature of your diaphragm and your intercostal muscles and different muscles that are starting to open up those bags of those lungs to create a vacuum, and air fills up that space. The way that happens in your diaphragm descends. Mm-hmm. So if the diaphragm descends, then the space in your thoracic cavity where your heart lives, the intrathoracic space becomes more expanded. There's more volume. And so there's less pressure in that space.
I see, yeah.
So diaphragm goes down, less pressure in that space. The heart actually expands in that position. And then you have a little pacemaker in the heart that sends a signal that says, oh my God, the volume has changed dramatically. There's more venous blood coming back in here. We need to pump faster to get this stuff out. And so all the tubes are expanding. We say, okay, we got to work harder. We're going to pump faster. So every time you inhale, you are accelerating your heart rate. You can feel it. You can take your heart rate right now. You can feel it.
Yeah.
When you exhale, the diaphragm ascends. It goes up. That intrathoracic pressure increases as well. Thoracic cavity gets smaller. Heart gets more compressed. And then you have this pacemaker signal saying, oh, it's time to slow things down a little bit. The pressure is increasing. Let's slow it down a little bit. And every time you take a breath, you're taking yourself into, as you inhale, you're taking yourself more into an activated state, raising the heart rate, more sympathetic.
Mm-hmm.
As you exhale, you're slowing the heart rate down. You're going into parasympathetic. It's a beautiful wave that you're going through all day long. If you are chronically stressed, chronically anxious, chronically reactive, chronically resting bitch face, I see the world in kind of like a little bit more hostile than most people. Mm-hmm. Probably you are over breathing. Yeah. Probably you are stuck in an inhalation pattern, and probably it doesn't feel easy and accessible for you to have a long sighing exhalation. It feels like weird. It feels like foreign, like alien to you. And so what that person needs is they need to work on their breath. And a really great tactic to start with that would be just emphasizing long exhalations and stacking on top of that humming or sighing. I'll shut up after this. If you hum, you are increasing the production of a vital gas called nitric oxide by 16 times, like 16 times. Nitric oxide is a vasodilator. So it's something that you would take to go to a gym to get more jacked, get like vascular and stuff, nitric oxide, NO. And it's helpful for calming the system as well. It's also really helpful for your immune system. So when you're breathing through the nose, ideally that increases as well. That increases it 5 times. And when you hum, you're actually liberating nitric oxide from the nasal passages 16 times more than what you would if you were not doing that. Yeah. So you are walking medicine. Every breath that you take is literally medicine for yourself if you understand how to manage and control your relationship to your breath.
Yeah, it's like the medicine that you carry within yourself, that you just need to know how to dose it and how to use it correctly.
Yeah, it's a tool.
So when you inhale, we're always like getting into, I would say, a little bit of a fight or flight, ready to go. Yeah, exhale is the relaxed state. So if we're like getting stressed, we're going to get that curve, because you're still going to exhale, right? But like very little. So it's going to be more inhalation than exhaling at that point.
Yes.
While is it the opposite when we're about to fall asleep, that we're exhaling longer? And our breaths just became longer and deeper, I assume.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, exactly. So if you're having issues with sleeping, and also another thing is you're saying that if a person is stuck in an inhalation pattern, you'll also see their ribs will chronically be flared as well. So the ribs will kind of be like, imagine they're like headlights and they're like shooting up to the trees instead of on the road. So your ribs, if they're chronically flared with this, which is very common for, if a guy, if he wants to kind of appear like big and strong and in control and machismo, he'll like pull his shoulders back, and kind of like hyperextend his lower back, pull his shoulders back, and ribs will flare. It looks confident from like the nipples up, but it's actually really unstable everywhere else, because you're taking away the lack of range of motion that you have in the shoulders and the neck and all that stuff. And you're borrowing that range from your lower back, and you're destabilizing your spine. And you're destabilizing your ribs, and you're telling your central nervous system that you're unstable, and you actually shouldn't have access to more strength and more power, because your spine is in a really disadvantaged position. So if the ribs are chronically flared up, that's when you inhale, the ribs will flare open a little bit. They'll externally rotate. They'll go like that. When you exhale, they'll curve in. If you're chronically stuck in a position, if you're a girl, you might kind of want to like, you might want your butt to look good. You might want your butt to look like bigger. So you might overextend your lower back. This is like so common with girls to have lower back issues. It's like everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, so because it's like the butt is kind of like the thing for girls. At least, you know, I live in Miami, so it's very butt centric. And
you live in Miami, so it's very
butt centric. Yeah, very butt oriented. And so girls' lower backs are like not in a good position.
Especially in Miami, right?
Especially Miami, yeah, because they're chronically dumping their hips forward. So it looks, you know, sexually attractive if you don't know what you're looking at, you know. But for me, I would much rather see a girl with like a supple, healthy, muscular butt and like actually a structure that is stable, and a nervous system that is stable.
Yeah.
And you know, so if you're chronically flaring yourself in that way, then you're going to be stuck in an inhalation pattern, because that's what the ribs do when you inhale. They flare, and when you exhale, they close. And so that's like a really big deal for a lot of people. Start paying attention to the orientation of your ribs. If they're chronically kind of shooting up, like the headlights are shooting into the trees, you're probably chronically a little bit more stressed than you need to be. And so if you want to go to sleep, back to what you're saying with sleep, the best thing you can do to go to sleep, one, would be paying attention to the light exposure that you have in your room. Try to go towards like, you know, reds and yellows and things of that sort of lights at night. But the other thing would be, like exactly like you mentioned, starting to extend your exhalations, and humming is a really nice thing to do as well. I have a online program that we're launching actually this week. So I don't know when this is going to go out. But in the program, I have a whole recipe on how to sleep. So I go through like my whole like nighttime routine, but breathing is a major part of that. And something you can do if you're having issues with sleeping is literally just, I mean, I can go through different things. It's pretty much just extend your exhalation, you know, and even do little breath holds at the end is a nice thing as well. Deep breath into the nose, much longer exhalation, like 2-to-1 ratio. So if you're breathing in for 5 seconds, exhaling for 10 seconds or 12 or 15, just exhale as long as you can.
The exhaling is also going out through the nose.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, it doesn't.
Inhale through the nose, very important. Exhale through the mouth. It's fine. It can be actually nice to exhale through the mouth, because you're like letting out a sigh, you know, it's like, like that's kind of nice. Adding that like that vibratory component to it, acoustic component to it. If you're running a race, then probably don't want to be exhaling out of the mouth, because you're losing a lot more water that way. So you're dumping. I don't know what it is exactly. I think it's at least 2 times more water vapor is coming out.
You're losing a lot of energy if you breathe through the mouth.
You're dehydrating yourself.
Yeah.
So if you're exhaling through the mouth all day long, you would be dehydrating yourself. If you're inhaling through the mouth all day long, then you're creating a lot more issues than that. Yeah.
So that's also what I want to talk with you about, like breathing through the nose versus breathing through the mouth, right? So we see all these people wearing their tapes over the mouth now to go to sleep. And also in terms of like in general through the day, I mean, we use our mouth constantly to talk, right? Like right now, I'm mostly exhaling through my mouth because I'm talking. But what is it that you generally recommend people?
Breathe through your nose all the time, for the most part. Use your mouth. The mouth is good for certain situations. The mouth can be good if you're weightlifting and you want to pressurize your midsection really quickly. And you'll take a breath in for that. It's good if you're swimming. It's good if you are, the way that we break it down in the aligned breathing program is a gear system, which I borrowed that from my friend Brian McKenzie. But the gear system of breathing, the first gear would be low and slow through the nose, just nice and easy through the nose. And then eventually you'd work yourself up into, you know, you breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. Then eventually you'd get into 5th gear. 5th gear would be at a point where you are pretty hard breathing in the mouth, out of the mouth. That's like extreme scenario. You're like maximally sprinting, you're exhausted, you're up on the top of a really tall mountain in Colorado, and you're maxing yourself out. The goal for everyone ought to be to raise your metabolic capacity, the best, and your respiratory capacity, the best you possibly can with your mouth completely closed. And that will make you more efficient at releasing oxygen into your brain and your muscles. The reason that is when you are breathing a lot, particularly through the mouth, you are releasing a lot of, it's called CO2, carbon dioxide. That's the main signaling gas that sends a signal to your place in your brainstem, medulla oblongata, sends a signal, says, oh, a lot of CO2 is building up. It's time for us to take a breath. It's a main signaler for why you don't need to take a breath because you're running out of oxygen. You're actually taking a breath because you're building up CO2. So when the CO2 builds up, that does a few things. One of the things that does is it actually changes, this is called the Bohr effect. It changes the shape of the cells that hold onto oxygen in your red blood cells called the hemoglobin. And so when you hold your breath longer or you breathe slower, you're not over breathing, CO2 levels start to go up more in your system. You become more comfortable with CO2. It's called CO2 tolerance. And your CO2 tolerance increases.
I see. Yeah. So you kind of like through the daily life, you can
Yes.
you can have less basically and be good with it, which makes you
be better.
Yeah, be better, which makes you also more a better athlete, for example, or like a
better everything.
Better everything,
more calm,
basically.
More calm, less reactive, better father, better leader, better mother, like better respirator, more well oxygenated, more intelligent, like more cognitive function, better freaking everything. Mm-hmm. It's like unreal. Wow. And so when a person is breathing a lot, like if you can hear someone breathing, they're sick. They need help.
Wow.
That's like it's one of there's like the longest. There's a study called the Framingham study that was studying implications for longevity. It tracked a whole bunch of people and was measuring their longevity, and it's one of the most like respected studies in the realms of longevity. And what they found in the Framingham study was that your lung capacity and lung health was the greatest indicator of longevity. So if you've got good lungs. And then the next is grip strength, leg strength. Both of those are really important as well. Grip strength is more indicative of heart health than blood pressure, which is interesting. So you have strong grip, strong legs, strong lugs. You're here. You're here to stay. If you start to lose your grip on life, you start to lose your stability, and your strength in your legs to be able to hold life. Yeah. And you start to lose your breath to life, like you're on your way out. Yeah. And so the breath was the longest lever for predicting longevity
that's very powerful. Yeah.
That's
very
powerful. Interesting. Yeah. And so if you care about freaking anything in this life, start paying attention to your breath.
Yeah, that is very powerful. I loved how you said the gears from when we like, 1 or 2, 3 gear is like breathing through the nose. And then if you're like in 5th, 6th gear, you're on your mouth. It's really interesting to say that because when you're a long distance runner and you would start your run breathing through the mouth, you won't make it as far as when you start the run breathing through your nose. And like in the end, when you're like about to like, okay, this is like the last couple miles, then you can start breathing through your mouth because it does feel sometimes a little bit easier, but that's only the 5th or 6th gear. You won't make it with starting with that gear. So absolutely. And I think everybody can relate to that example because we've all been there. We've all
So just think of that. I actually find the gear analogy nice because
it's brilliant to explain.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a guy, so I'm running. I'm like, okay, like drop it down to 3rd gear. It feels good for me. But so within that, like just think of that as you're breathing. If you're up in the place where you are nose in, so actually, the actual, I'll just break down quick the gears. So 1st gear is balanced breath, nasal in and out. Next gear is increased speed. Balance nasal in and out, but you're starting to be like higher heart rate. Next is 3rd gear would be nasal in, mouth out. 4th would be same thing, nasal in, mouth out, but you're like, it's more like you're starting to push it. Like it's like you're higher intensity, higher heart rate. And then the last one would be mouth in, mouth out. So the more that you can, if you're training, the more you can keep yourself in that kind of like second gear to third gear, toggling between second and third gear range, the more metabolically efficient you will be. And the more access, suddenly, if you do go into that fifth gear range, it will take you a lot more to get to that point. And so your gears expand the more you keep yourself down in that nasal in, mouth out, or ideally nasal in, nasal out.
The more range you get, basically.
The more range you get. Whereas and it's the exact opposite if you lean on the fourth and fifth gears more, or especially the fifth gear.
Yeah.
Mouth in, mouth out will screw the rest of your gears up. Nose in, nose out will extend the rest of your gears out.
Yeah, that's basically when we see those people walking to the fridge and back and they're being exhausted. They're probably starting the day with gear 6, right?
So those people, what they could do to start, instead of us like, sitting here on our respiratory pedestals, we could suggest for that person, and a really easy thing they could do to start improving their experience if they're getting up the couch and they're literally getting winded by that, would be just explore breath holds. So if you're hanging out, on the couch, maybe instead of just breathing all day long, maybe just say like, I'm going to set a little timer and I'm going to exhale. It's actually called a thing you can measure. We have this in the aligned breathing program. It's one of the first tests that we give for people. It's called the BOLT score. And what the BOLT score measures is how efficient you are at tolerating CO2. And so what you do with that, this is a really fun thing. I highly recommend people at home, listening to this, and you try it as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna try.
Get a timer. You want to do it right now? Actually, everybody can do it together. It only takes like 20 seconds. So
well,
I'm getting
depends,
a timer.
Right?
Well, we'll see. If you can get up to 40, you're pro. Like you're epic.
All right, let's see. I'm gonna be honest right here. I'm gonna go close to the mic so you can hear my breathing.
Yeah. So bolts. So what the BOLT score is, I'm getting out my timer. So what you're going to do, so I've got a little timer here. You're going to take a few normal breaths. So just breathe normally. I'm going to explain what's going to happen. And when I tell you, you're going to exhale a normal exhalation, like, empty, but not like all the way. Just normal exhalation, empty. And then you're going to hold it. And the first indication that your body gets that I would like to breathe, that's when you stop the stopwatch. And so the first moment you feel your diaphragm maybe contract or spasm a little bit, maybe you feel your neck muscles tighten up a little bit, just your body is like, oh, like it would be nice to breathe right now, sir. Like that's when you stop it. So you're not going for a max breath hold.
I see. Yeah.
When your body sends you the signal, please, Maren, we'd like a breath now. That's when you stop it.
All right.
It's not when it's kicking and not when it's kicking and screaming like, you got this. All right. All right, right? So breathe normally a couple times. All right. And then I'm going to do it with you. Maybe actually I might talk instead, so it's not just dead space. But and then on your next exhale, since I can't really exactly, okay, I can see you. Yeah. All the way, exhale, 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 exhale. Okay, I'm starting the timer. All right. So Maren's running the timer right now. And so what's happening in your system right now is your CO2, this gas, that's a really healthy, valuable, incredibly important gas, is starting to build up in your system. You are at 16 seconds. You're entering into the realm of, this is like entering into healthy, which is great. Well done. If you haven't done this, it's pretty impressive that you're not needing to breathe yet. You're at 30 seconds. Very good. I hope you're not cheating us, Maren. You're at 35. Wow. Okay, 35. That's really good. Okay. Are you like a cardiovascular athlete of some sort?
No, but I used to
do breath hold training or diving or something?
No, but I'm actually good at breath holding, I have to say, but I used to do a lot of gymnastics when I was younger, like a lot. And I think that just kept me so athletically fit. And I work out every day. So that's maybe why. But what I automatically did, I was like, I didn't move a single muscle. And I think that helps.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of like into like, don't move, Mari, just don't move. Like, don't use any energy. Like that kind of like moment where I was just trying to be like completely calm and and like focus on if my neck would be like, you know, as you said, like, and to be honest, the first thing when I felt it was like my shoulders were getting up. And that's when I was like raising my hand. I was like, okay, I'm done. Very interesting.
So the more calm you can be with breath tolerance, the more calm your nervous system in a global way will be with every other thing that you do in your life. Meditation will be easier. Rational thought will be easier. Like I said, reducing reactivity, relationships will get better. Your lens and perspective on the world will improve. And it's like a sensation. And I know this very well from past just experiences with people. People that are over breathing a lot, there's almost like can be like a feeling almost like they're like starving for air. And it's almost like they're like drowning. And that feeling of it's like I have the weight of the world on my shoulders. I'm just like, like you can hear somebody across your like, like they forgot to breathe. Like, you know, like that person, that's a psycho-emotional relationship as well. You know, so that experience of like, it's tied in, your breath is tied into the way that you feel. So that your breathing system is it's the way where it's regulated is the lowest point in the brainstem. It's called the medulla oblongata, and the pons on top of that. And it is the literal bridge anatomically between your brain and your body. It's like the last point in the brainstem, which is interesting. Yeah. And, you know, Iyengar has said different iterations or things like, you know, the breath is the king of the nervous system. And, you know, there's a lot of different iterations of that from different yogi people and spiritual people. Like the breath guides the mind. And it is the only system in the body that is both autonomic and voluntary. So autonomic, meaning you don't control, you know, your digestion and temperature regulation and heart rate and things like that. And it's voluntary, like your muscles. You do a bicep curl or pull up or, you know, choose to walk or talk. You can choose to do those things. So within that, they are sharing nerve pathways. They're like fused together. And so you could start to regulate the involuntary through you can voluntarily regulate the involuntary through your breath. It's the only system that does that, which is why it's the king of the nervous system.
Wow, yeah, that's how you basically regulate your nerve system, which you can't just like press a button as we can say like, okay, I'm going to lift my right arm now. But
but you can. Yeah,
so that which you can if you learn it. But yeah, if you learn it, I don't think it's that easy for someone who is completely new to breath work than lifting your arm, right? Because that's something you do since a child. A lot of people just breathe and don't talk about it, think about it.
Yeah, you're so habituated.
Yeah, and I also heard you talking about people who would like overbreathe. It's like an all-you-can-eat buffet all the time, right? So they're like, exactly. It's I love that expression of yours, and I think that is really that's amazing. That really pictures it really well. So you're like constantly overeating, over-consuming the air that is around us, while if you on purpose slow down your breath, you are getting into a more conscious breathing throughout the day.
And more efficient. Yeah. Your body. Yeah. So if you're gluttonous, your body gets fat and shitty. Yeah. It's just like cool, like right, you know, there's calories everywhere, awesome, whatever. But if you are a little bit more lean in the way that you live, your body has to be more intelligent with the way that it uses the calories that it has.
Yeah, exactly.
Air, you are consuming around 30 pounds of air. You consume more air than you do anything else. You know, you consume, I don't know how much water or food you do, but it's less than 30 pounds a day. and depending upon, you know, I don't know, maybe if you're super gluttonous, maybe depending on the day. But, you know, so you're consuming a buttload of air each day, 30 pounds. It's like a lot. Yeah. And so if you're in that air buffet mode where you're just breathing it all, the signal that you're sending, this goes back to the thing that I touched on briefly, the Bohr effect, from a Danish physiologist called Christian Bohr, coined this thing called the Bohr effect, which suggests that or states that when you're over breathing like that, you're in this air buffet, your body gets the signal that it probably would make sense to be a little bit more stingy with the way that we release and liberate oxygen from our red blood cells, because there's just so much air out there.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's less air out there, suddenly your red blood cells get the signals. There's not a lot of oxygen floating around right now. Apparently, we have oxygen stored here. We're going to actually let it go. We're going to open up the garage door and let it go. But if you're over breathing, the garage door closes because it's like, cool, you got all the air you need out there. You're fine. If you're breathing less, your physiology gets more efficient and it starts to liberate itself. Like you become free, which is, a metaphor and also literal.
Yeah, obviously that's it's amazing what we can do with our breath. And one thing I really would love to ask you is that there are so many people out there struggling with chronic anxiety. I'm sure that a lot of people came to you and seek for help. And what is it that you would recommend them? What is it that you tell them?
The first thing, the most obvious, I would go into other things as well.
I'm talking about the breath now, more focus on the breath.
Well, but I would want to go into, so I do manual therapy and, body work and training and more like somatic based things. So there's other directions I would go, but the very first thing 100% that I would do with the person is exactly what we've been talking about the whole time is, if a person's really super duper extra anxious, like having, a little bit of like panic attack, meltdown type scenario, they can rebreathe through a bag so they can breathe more CO2. So that get a bag. Doing that, you're going to start to rebreathe CO2. It will calm you down very quickly. Emphasizing lung exhalation, start doing breath holds. It might be a little hard in the beginning. Something you could do as a very immediate exercise would be, I wrote about it in my book, The Align Method. I don't remember what the exercise is called in yoga Sanskrit speak right now. I could find my book and I actually have it in there, but it's what a baby would do. So a baby, if they're having a meltdown, they would potentially do some iteration of cover the eyes, cover the ears. So you take your thumbs, cover your ears, plug up your ears, take your front hands, cover up the eyes, and then you take a breath in. Everything's completely closed, and you just hum out. You could rock and move your body as well. It's literally what a baby would do if they're having a meltdown, like a toddler would do if they're really, really things are not good. I need to change my state. Their natural little baby animal physiology would reproduce something similar to this because it's so tuning to the nervous system. And so cut out the senses, cut out, visual and auditory senses, extend the exhalation, add the hum, and add movement into that as well would be a very powerful recipe to change a person's state in a very immediate way. Bag rebreathing would be another very immediate state change for that person. Movement. So dance, expression, go take a dance class, go do a bachata class, go do a zouk class, go do a salsa class, go to an ecstatic dance class if that's not too weird for you. Go take a gymnastics class, anything that's embodied. If you are in your head, there's the potential for anxiety. If you're in your body, there's really no potential for anxiety. The body doesn't do anxiety. Yeah. It's if you are truly in your body, truly in love, say, if you're in love, you go out of thinking. Love and thinking are there. It's like two poles. It's like two separate experiences. When you're in love, it's just you feel your heart expanding. Have you had that feeling?
Yes, absolutely.
You actually feel the heart expanding, right? It's really beautiful. It's right. Yeah. And so that sensation of your sensorial awareness goes into, oh my God, this thing I call I feels its literal chest cavity opening up. you don't feel stressed when that's happening.
Yeah.
So love so deeply places you into your physical experience because it's a physical experience.
Yeah.
And when you're so deeply placed in your physical experience, for the baseline sensation for the human being, I think, is love, compassion, joy.
Yeah.
And the mind is where the stories can start to arise. And they took that from me. And, I resent that person, and she doesn't deserve that. And why does she get that? And I don't get that. And all of the stories that contract the body and disassociate the body and like atrophy the body, essentially. And if a person lives in that mind space too much, the body gets sick. And if the person re-embodies themselves, it opens them up usually to some type of deeper healing on various different psycho-emotional and physical levels. I know that's getting into some like meta-woo territory, but it's also
No,
very
absolutely, absolutely not. I'm totally following you here. Totally true. I agree with everything that you're saying. Also, like it's so basically just doing things that gets you out of the mind and gets you into your body, into the moment, basically, that you're like being in the moment. Well, it's easy to say love deeply, right? If you're like
and take yourself into nature.
Yes.
So nature is a sense experience. Mm-hmm. You sense the feeling of actual full spectrum, high lumen's like a measurement of light, sun. Like the power of sun is so absurd. It's so much more powerful than the light that you're getting from light bulbs in your house. Yeah. Like tens of thousands of times more powerful than when you walk into a Walmart and it seems really bright, but it's actually just like irritating to your nervous system. Mm-hmm. Seems bright as crap. Compared to the sun, tens of thousands of times brighter, seems pretty much the same, but the intensity of what you're receiving with the actual photons and the energy from the sun is so much more. And exposing your eyeballs to that is very important for nervous system regulation, circadian function, all the things. Placing yourself into the cold and being with the state of cold, placing yourself into the heat and being with the state of heat, sauna, cold plunge, whatever. It's just brisk outside and you decide I'm not going to get like so bundled up. I'm actually experience cold sensation in my body. It will bring me into my body. Yeah. Will also start to boost my immune system. It will cause my body to release growth factors that make me stronger, called cold shock proteins. Similar thing with the heat. You release these things called heat shock proteins, among other things. Opens up your pores. Like you're expanding and contracting the entirety of the physical vessel just by going into hot and cold. And so then there's also just the meditative component of like I'm experiencing cold. Interesting. Like, what is this? Mm-hmm. It's very hard to be in your head if you're experiencing a high sense experience like that. Yeah, basically you're just letting your mind go and be in the moment that you're actually doing. And all of the things that you're just explaining here is also what helps us in order to have a long life. I think everybody who is older and can still get themselves up from the sofa by themselves and don't need people to help them to walk around or, don't need any help. Most of those people are actually the ones that go into nature. They're being active. Yeah. They're doing all these things and they're breathing correctly. Naturally. Naturally. So walking outside in nature will help your body to breathe better. If you're stuck, think if you're sitting on a chair and your head is jutting forward and your shoulders collapsing forward and your spine's hunched forward, it's really hard to be able to breathe well in that position. Yeah. And now think if you're standing up and maybe say you're a girl and you're wearing high heels and it's kind of like jutting you forward and your ribs are kind of jumping forward a little bit. It looks hot. Heels are great. Make your legs look great. Make your butt look sexy. It's awesome. Not the most advantageous thing for a healthy nervous system. Not the most advantageous thing for your body to be able to just naturally be able to get full functional range of motion to breathe. Mm-hmm. But if you're walking around outside, you're just walking around in general anywhere, you are swinging your arms, you're opening up your hips, you're circulating lymphatic fluid. So your lymphatic stations in the body, lymphatic system is like the waste management system of the body. We did this, I think, in the when we met. I went through like a little lymphatic drainage exercise with people. So the lymphatic system, where the highest concentration of lymphatic glands, where evolution placed them, is in the places in the body with a high volume of movement, such as the back of the knees, the groin, the stomach, the collarbones, the neck, the armpit. So you just walking, it literally detoxifies the body. You getting a jump rope and jumping up and down a handful of times, your calves are the most powerful pumps. They like double as, springs to be able to move you through the world, but they also double as pumps to circulate fluid from your lower body to your upper body. So if you don't want to be a toxic sludge mess version of yourself, you need to pump your calves with regularity. Great way to do that, just take a walk. An even cooler, fun, athletic way to do that, grab a jump rope, every hour, jump rope for 2 minutes. Be really good for you. And so that's also going to put your body into a more, your more embodied state. You're going to start to produce different hormones and chemicals that induce, feelings of like cognitive clarity, happiness. You'll be producing more serotonin. There's a compound called irisin that happens when you're exercising. It's very good for, again, cognitive clarity. So someone's like a muscle head it's actually a really good thing. It like makes you smarter. You just also have to stack that with like read books and like talk to smart people.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. All of these things will obviously help to overcome chronic stress and eventually you're just becoming a healthier person when you do all of those things, because it's always, everything is combined, right? Like it's
and you'll start to like suffocate on yourself, like things. It's like the Bible, like the I don't know what the passage is or how they say it exactly, but pretty much the rich get richer and the poor get poor. So there's a way of saying that in a more biblical way, but that's like
the rich in terms of like health. You're becoming richer, but you become healthier. And
in terms of everything, you become more of your momentum. So whatever your momentum is, you're going to become more of that. And so if you're in the momentum of positivity, you'll become more positive. It's crazy. It's always so how is I don't get it. If you're in the momentum of being, seeing everything as sucks. You use a lot of negative language and you are condescending and you're judgmental and you're a toxic person. Like you're not good to be around. You need help. Like you need a hug. You need some love. You need some support. But you need to sort this out for yourself because you're pushing all the love out of your life. Because ultimately you don't trust it and you're scared to be hurt. So you're stuck in this like hyper rational, pessimistic place. It seems smart, but it's actually very sad and lonely. You need to help yourself in that situation because you need love. And you are combining, or you are creating yourself every moment of every day from a neurochemical and hormonal level. And your mind, your perspective is continually shaping the way that you produce yourself. And so another thing, the way that you can train your breath, your breath will naturally train your perspective and your mind and your ease with life, but also pay attention to your language.
Well, I'm super interested in that. How would your breath kind of like change your perspective?
Well, that's just the kind of the things I've been sharing. Just it causes you to have greater. It literally moves blood into the parts of the brain that are rational. It moves blood into the parts of the brain where you're like, oh, cool. Like I can actively shunt blood into places that allow me to perceive the world in a more balanced perspective instead of perceiving the world in a more reactionary, animalistic fight-flight perspective.
Yeah, this constant breathing in gives you an automatic fight or flight moment where you're like kind of anxious. You're holding, you're anxious, you're ready to go, you're ready to run, right? Like that's
think
how
if someone offends you. If someone really offends you, like shocks you, you go, can't believe she said that. Right?
Exactly.
That's like a disgust response. It's like nervous system, like all walls, like up. Right? Now, what happens when you're like, oh no, she didn't actually say that. She actually said you think you're amazing and you're the best. And she was actually being totally sarcastic. You're like, really? Oh, I feel so much better now.
Yeah, the release. And that's
Okay,
the moment
I'll
when
let
you
it-
look
I'll
at
let
it.
it go.
Yeah, that's the moment when you also look at the same thing from a different perspective.
Yeah, exactly. And so it could be something you can, so now we're going to like another like meta level of how we navigate our physiology. And it's like, okay, somebody's talking shit, great. I'm going to go like Jesus path and I'm going to love them, through this experience. And I'm going to have compassion for them for this experience. And I'm actually going to see this now as an opportunity of like a weightlifter would see weightlifting. And like, okay, this is a heavier barbell than I'm typically accustomed to because she's saying some foul stuff and it's bothering me. But do I have control of the situation? Is it out of my hands at this point? Is there anything that I can do if I do, go beat her up or something like that? Will that improve things? Yes or no? No. Okay. Don't do that. If I talk shit and I do the same thing and I tell people that she's like a snake and, a bad person, she's, whatever, all the things, is that going to make my life better or worse? It's probably not going to make it better. Okay, cool. So I'm not going to do that, and then the next thing from there is like, okay, can I love her? Can I actively lean into the heavier barbell lift right now? And I'm going to actually forgive her. And I don't need to love her and bring her in my life. I can let her go. I can never talk to her again.
Yeah.
But I can send nothing but love to her, nothing but compassion to her. What you're doing while you're doing that is you're actually genuinely healing yourself, because you having that contemptuous experience for that person is literally, you are just having a contemptuous, contracted experience for yourself. Like you are the only person that can hold the hate.
Yeah.
So you think it's going out. It's not going anywhere. It's just going right back into yourself. You're just holding hate. That's all you're doing.
It's just yourself, basically.
And hate is exactly, you hate yourself. It's hate is contraction. Hate is resistance. Hate is shutting down. Hate is stagnation. Disease ends up being stagnation, and hate is inflammation. And so if you can release the hate in your body, and you release, this is getting more like biblical stuff, and release the resentment in your body, or any religion. I'm not married to Christianity at all, but just like any old book that people have been following for thousands of years, for the most part, it's you don't want to hang on to this stuff because it's toxic and it creates disease.
Yeah.
And so if there's any of that you're holding on to yourself, any person you haven't forgiven, forgive them now. Any person that you hold resentment towards, like, let it go. And
absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
And actively make a practice of loving that person. That does not mean inviting them over to your house to have dinner. It does not mean calling them on the phone and working it out. It could mean that, but it could literally mean like bless and release. Like, I love you. I genuinely love you. I genuinely hope the best for you.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Exactly. I think there's a fine line between like your own, where we say, okay, this is not particularly good for me. But on the other hand side, hating someone is just going to drive you crazy and no one else. So you are the one who's going to suffer.
Nobody knows. It's just you. It's your own internal illusion that you're living.
Exactly.
And so the longer that you want to hate yourself, hate someone else.
Exactly.
Just know that you are literally hating yourself.
Yeah.
It's fine. Hang on to it, but just know what the consequences of that, because you were just carrying that. So hold on to it for 10 years it doesn't matter. Like, whatever you want. It's not affecting that person or anyone else other than the people that are actually close to you, because they have to deal with this baggage that you carry. So you don't need to do anything, but just know that it's only you that's carrying the baggage, and only the people that you actually care about that are then implicated in the baggage that you carry. So the sooner you can release that, the more you can actually be a constructive person in every relationship, including the one with yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, you're totally right there, because you're the only one carrying the baggage around with you. And
they have no idea.
Yeah. And I also think it's just like you should walk through this whole world in peace. You should walk in peace with everyone. And because who said that we have tomorrow? So there is like this way of like just mindful, being peaceful towards the world, towards everyone that we even are mad at. You kind of forgive them for your own sake, for your own happiness. And I think we kind of have to wrap it up soon. So is there any way that you would like to add something, and maybe where we can find you?
Yeah. Well, just one thing that'll take less than 45 seconds. I think it's really important that spiritual people don't stop. I'm saying spiritual people in kind of like a cute way, but like, don't just stop at the bypassing of the pain and the anger and like feel all the hate, feel all the anger, feel all of the sorrow, feel all of the grief, punch all the pillows, hit all the punching bags, scream into the mountain tops, like let it out. And really, really like go all the way through it. Say the thing that you're terrified of saying. Say that the worst possible thing that I would never dare. Just say it. Like it's not that bad.
Yeah,
I totally agree. And then from there, it's like, okay, cool. I've exercised this. I get this, and the only thing left is love. At this point, like I've really leaned into all this. I'm kind of bored. This is it's like it's like, okay, I get it. This isn't as bad as I thought it was. It's the
feel
pushing
the emotions
away.
in the moment rather than carrying them with us as a baggage.
Yeah, it's the pushing away. If you get it, you get into another trap. If you're in a place of like, okay, like I hate this person, but like, okay, I'm just gonna send them love. It's like, no, but you feel hate. You don't even necessarily hate the person. You just feel hate. And so fucking feel it. Like get into it. Get a therapist, talk to somebody, like get into all the layers of that as soon as you possibly can. Like do it now. And from there, the sooner you can start to open yourself up to life, and open yourself up to love and open yourself up to like all the things that you deserve. But you want to get that stuff out. And if you just bypass it and you say, surrender me now, surrender me now, surrender me now, that could be a bunch of bullshit as well. And that's something that like the spiritual community, I think sometimes it's like you wear white and you wear beads and like, I love all things. It's like, do you really though? So there's like the other layer of it of like, okay, yes, that's possible, but do you really? Like, have you really actually felt through all that stuff? Or you just kind of like put on the white gown and just say you did?
Yeah.
So anyway, so find myself. So I host a podcast called Line Podcast. Done that for the last 11 years. And if people are interested in the breathing stuff, I appreciate you allowing me to communicate about it. I'm obviously very passionate about it. We are launching a program that the first week of it is free. And the first week is a really valuable week because it breaks down the mechanics of how to breathe. This is a thing that it's a crime that people do not know how to breathe, how to get your ribs into a position to be able to breathe well, and your pelvis and your shoulders, and breathing, opening up your nasal passages, and just like getting the vessel, getting the body structure into a space where like, okay, cool. Like you're ready to breathe. So that's the first week. That part's free. And then the second section is all about how to calm your nervous system using your breath. The third section is all about how to stimulate your nervous system using your breath. And then there's a brief section on the anatomy and physiology with a little like cute quiz at the end that breaks down some of the things that we mentioned in here that's relevant to really understand your breath. And that releases this week. So it's open for enrollment now. And that is the free trials at alignpodcast.com/breathe. So ALIGN podcast.com/breathe. And I think that's it. Align Podcast,
Perfect.
Breathing program is free to start.
That sounds very inviting.
Instagram's there.
Yeah. What I like about your work a lot, especially with the breath work now, is that you don't lead a breathworking class and then everybody breathes in there and breathes correctly and then walks out and does it wrong again. No, you kind of give the instruction to how to implement it in your daily life, and that's beautiful.
Thanks for recognizing that. I'm a big fan of deficits. So I'm just like, okay, like where's a deficit? And the deficit that I see is people are doing breathing stuff, but they don't actually know like what the heck is happening. And so I'm a big fan of really empowering a person if this is actually what's taking place. If you go into that Wim Hof thing or the psychedelic breathwork thing, this is actually what's happening to your physiology.
Yeah.
And if you're doing a breath hold, whatever, here's what's actually happening. And then you can kind of create your own breathing practices. So that's what's all in the Aligned Breathing program.
Well, Aaron, it was so nice. Thank you.
You're nice getting to hang out.
Thank you for listening to Health Hacks. I hope today's episode gave you more knowledge to improve your health.